My name is Maralee2, and I am a child advocate, protective mom, and speaker, author of Prosecuted But Not Silenced, Courtroom Reform for Sexually Abused Children. I've been involved in this issue for over 2 decades. Imagine trying to protect your child to find them taken away. This is what is happening in courtrooms all across the country, where good, loving mothers who report abuse of their child are losing custody to the abuser. I receive phone calls every day from women all across the country, from every state in the nation and internationally. These women are good, loving mothers just trying to protect their children. They're receiving gag orders, jail sentences. They're forced into supervised visits with their children, some months, some years. They're depleted financially and emotionally. How can we change what's happening here? This has been going on for over 25 years. The reason I know so much about this is because I am one of those mothers. 20 years ago, I fought in the court system here in Colorado to protect my daughter from sexual abuse. This is a mother's worst nightmare. For God to take your child away can in time be accepted as the will of God. For the laws, social services, and abusers to do the same is the will of the system. My daughter disclosed sexual abuse by her father at the age of 2.5. I started writing my book back then when I realized that there was no ending to the court system protecting her. I also wanted my daughter to know the truth because I was in fear for my life and I wasn't sure I would survive what was happening. A mother's first instinct is to protect her child, and when the means and power to do this are stripped unjustly from a mother, there are no words to describe the constant heartache that is felt as each day passes by. When I was in this case, social services was involved, as they are in most of these cases, and this is where my nightmare begins. On one day, I take my daughter for a visit at social services, and I'm met by a GAL, which is a guardian ad litem for the child, the lawyer for the child. And she tells me she has 4 things she wants to discuss with me, and I didn't even know what a GAL was, and I think I can handle this. That was my first mistake. I go into a small room, in a conference room, and I am interrogated for a solid hour, like nothing I'd ever seen on TV. They continue to ask me, why would your daughter continue to say this if you weren't coaching her? Because maybe it's going on. And the next statement would be, I want you to do a psychological evaluation. I want him to do one. I said, good, maybe we'll get to the bottom of this. And the GAL points her finger in my face and says, and maybe we'll find out about you. This is the first time she's met me. Within moments, she looked at me and she said, this child's going into foster care. She'd never been to the daycare provider's home. She'd never been to my home. She's never met me, and she's putting my child in foster care. I'd never been away from my baby. I was the sole caretaker of her. He had limited visitation. I go into another room and I laid my head down on a desk and I cried as if I had died. I was trying to hold it together because I didn't want him to say I was emotionally inept for any reason. And a social worker comes and taps me on the shoulder real coldly and says, you can go say goodbye to your daughter now. And I got up and I couldn't feel my legs. It was like gray mist around me. And I'm walking out and they go, look at her, she can't handle it. She can't say goodbye to her daughter. And I just kind of put my hand out to the side and I said, oh yes, I can. Because I had to say goodbye to my baby. She had no idea that I wasn't taking her home. Within days, my daughter's in foster care. She's very traumatized. They move her to another foster care home, and she is displaying sexual behaviors. She's waking in the night screaming out, no, daddy, don't, owie, owie, it's bad, 5 and 6 times a night. I had lived this 3 months previously. The foster care parent was exhausted because she was up all night with her and couldn't take care of the rest of the kids the next day, so they decided to move her back into my home. She's back in my home. I have another hearing, and at this hearing, what the courts do is in the best interest of the child, they use that. Who's able to nurture the relationship with the other parent? Obviously, I'm not able to nurture the relationship with the father and child. So the judge states that the father's more able to nurture the relationship with the mother and child than the mother is able to nurture the relationship with the father and child. And that's why a lot of these women lose their children. So I lost custody that day. I was in court for 10 years, but I was in and out for those years for weeks at a time. When I saw how the system was failing, I decided I was not going to stop at anything to protect my child. I went to the governor of Colorado. I was on the children's code here for Colorado for rewriting the laws and to get better codes for children's laws. I started lobbying in Washington, D.C. and had worked with a law firm there that set up my appointments on the Hill. And I would lobby all day and speak with congressmen and senators, and then I'd come home. And I testified before Congress during this time. I testified with 10 other mothers from across the nation with identical cases to mine. It could have been me speaking. At this time, I thought I was all alone in this, and most of us did back in those days. Today, we have the internet and we have all the social media, so these cases are rampant, and you hear about it every single day like I do. In the meantime, while I was fighting all of this, I did have a lot of news coverage on my case. Channel 7 News here in Colorado covered my case for weeks on end, and still, I was not able to get my child back or to protect her. On one of the last court orders or hearings, I had Judge Michael Beda, who sealed the courtroom and wouldn't allow anybody in the courtroom. They actually talked openly about taking the case number off the file so no media could get to my case or find out what was going on. I was punished that day. I was ordered to pay all court costs, which happens to lots of these mothers. You'll get all court costs, child support higher than the father ever paid you. You're ordered to pay all attorney's fees, therapist fees, and pretty much they bankrupt you. You've already gone through thousands, but now you're even going through everything you have left. And then when she was 12 and a half, maybe 13, she got to come home. That was because she finally got to talk to the judge. In most of these cases, they're not allowing these kids to talk to the judge, and that needs to happen. But the abuse was always ignored. All I wanted to do was get her back to healthy and normal as much as I could. I could not bring up the abuse. I could never mention it. I just told her, you see all those files under my desk? That's your case, and when you're ready to deal with this someday, it's there for you. She knew I'd been writing a book all these years, and I didn't publish the book until she was old enough. And today, this book is an educational tool. It's a case study of what's happening. It shows the lack of education. It has the police reports and the doctor's reports. So if you read this book, you go, that can't happen. It says go to Appendix A, and there's the police report right there. Or there's the judge's order that states PAS and parental alienation with Richard Gardner. So it's really crucial that this book gets out there, but it's more crucial that our society starts listening to this problem. This is huge. The damage of supervised visits is incomprehensible. Nobody could imagine what that's like for a child and a mother to go through and to be curtailed the way you are, and you can't say anything or talk about anything. And most of these moms don't make it through the supervised visits, either financially, emotionally. Drastic measures are being taken. I've watched them go in the underground. I've watched the FBI catch them and bring them back and put them in prison. And I'm watching today, every day, women going through the same thing. These are not criminals. These are not drug addicts or alcoholics. These are loving earth mothers. It could be you, and they're losing their children. Moms Fight Back is trying to make a difference here. This is a huge time for you to come forward, sign up for Moms Fight Back, and get involved. We're going to be doing court watching. We're going to hold these judges and therapists. The custody evaluators are making tons of money, and they're turning children over to abusers. We want to pull mothers, over 100,000 mothers together in a year, and let's start fighting back. Come on, society, wake up. Help us. Help these good moms and children. Save our children. Children come first. Protect the children.